Alright, just popping out this rear bumper for that customer in Germany. Let's have a look at it. And this is going out of mold. I do sell these finished if people want me to finish them, sand them, primer them, but you could also buy them out of mold. This is something that you're going to have to kind of mount to your car, to your Firebird, and you're going to have to feather out the sides anyway, so if you don't want to get it finished, I mean, you're still going to have to do some prep work even if you get it finished, because these don't always line up on every single car. Some cars it'll fit, some cars it'll be off. It just depends, because I don't know, Firebirds were just, they weren't created all equal, guys. That's all I can say about that. But yeah, this one came out real good. I told the customer I would cut this out for him so he can put his flipper in there, so I'll do that right now, and I'll trim off the edges for him before I ship it out, before I wrap it up and get it ready for shipping. Also guys, when you're ordering off my website, Nightridder Shop, out of mold, I do have a few more parts on there, that I do out of mold, but the majority of the parts are finished, like the dashes and the bumpers usually. Occasionally, like this rear bumper, I'll do out of mold, because this one you gotta kind of fit it on your vehicle anyway and adjust this. Most likely you're gonna have to either grind some off or add to it on the sides to get it to fit perfect, like I did on my Firebird. So I do offer it out of mold, and out of mold just means when I pop it, any little imperfections in it have to be sanded and corrected, filled. When you get it finished, that means I'm going to be sanding this down. I use 180 grit, and I pretty much block it out to a nice smooth finish again, and then I go and I primer it with poly primer, and that's like three coats of primer on here. So when you get the part, it's pretty much ready for just a scuff, 320 to 400 grit, right before you're going to paint it, and then you can paint that primer directly, or you can use a primer sealer with your car and then paint right over it. So that's what the finished is compared to out of mold. Out of mold is you should just get it the way it is out of the mold. Alright, for anyone that orders a rear bumper off me and they want to know how much you got to cut out here to get this flipper to fit perfectly, because if you install it like this, you can do that, but it's going to have like a 1-inch drop right here. I've seen people mount them on their bumpers like that and they're happy with it. I'm not. I like it flush with my rear bumper, like right there where it sits flush. So what you got to do is you got to mark up about 1/4 of an inch from this bottom lip, and you got to round off this edge a little bit, because you're going to create this little curve, but just 1/4 inch higher on both sides. And then you're going to cut this shelf, this top shelf right here under here. Normally you only cut this out right here, but we're going to cut out from here all the way across, up, and all the way across on this side. And again, you're going to go up just at the 1/4 inch. It's going to look exactly the same. No one's going to know it's a 1/4 inch off, other than you. Then this will be able to fit in there all the way up. Alright, so that's the cut up top. And when you have it installed, no one even will know that that's been cut back. And then I'll go in and cut this a little bit. So you got to cut this out all the way so it's nice and flush, or else it'll cut it. The flipper will catch. Let's see, the flipper's right here. See that? You need to cut this way back here. Alright, so shaved it back a little bit farther on both sides to see if this will fit one last time. Alright, so now it's able to slide all the way back wherever you want it. If you want it real high up, you could always trim it a little higher if you wanted to. but I like it nice and flush with the bottom of the bumper, about like that. And when this thing opens, it needs to come out about this far, so this thing can flip. And that's the reason why I took off a little bit off this lip, or else it'll hit there and it won't open. So now all I got to do is trim this little edge here on both sides with a different grinder. You just want to make sure these round parts look, you know, consistent on both sides. That's probably the hardest part of doing all this. And let's go and do another test fit up in here. And there we go. Perfect. So now this thing will rise up. You can see over here, I'm hitting over here on the edge, right at the top edge there, so I'll grind that down just a little bit more. This side seems a little bit better. I grind it a little bit more on that side, so this top edge right here, it's a little thicker than on this side, so I'll grind that down just a little bit right here. Alright, one more look at this. It was a little bit crooked. My cut was not perfectly straight, so I went and grinded it down a little bit more, straightened it up on the left side. Now we're looking about right. Okay. Seems like there's a slight little divot here where I cut a little too far, but when I fill this, I'll fill that in with some filler. And the primer will probably even get in there as well, so you won't notice it once the primer's done. And this one's going to be finished. This one's going out to Harold Johnson. I'll mount this plate for him. I'll put a night plate on one side so that it's ready to go for his SPM kit. There we go. I'm now going to work on this one for the guy in Germany. Alright, here's the rear bumper for the customer in Germany. I just went and trimmed this out for your flipper for you, like I said I would do. No charge for that. And here we go. Let's see if it fits. Alright, so the way you want to mount it is nice and flush with the bottom, just like that. And you can see it's pretty straight. Pull them off a little bit. You can go in and sand it a little bit if you want to, but it looks pretty straight to me. The corners are pretty good. The radiuses are pretty good on the sides. I trimmed it up even underneath here. So all you got to do is sand this bumper down with 320-400 grit sandpaper. Actually, what I do is 180 grit, and then I primer it, and then I do the 320-400. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you want to, or you could do 220. 220 if you want to. You don't have to go 180. 220 would be a good grit to sand this down, and then you can primer over that. You're gonna have to mount this on your car. Make sure it's all fitting. Grind down or add to if you need to on the sides. But yeah, the flipper will be ready to install when you get it. You said you got your own, so it'll ship without my flipper. And yeah, there it is, pre-cut, ready to go. and we're going to check it one more time, make sure everything's fitting, and it's looking good. So when this thing opens up, you have enough clearance for it to open up and flip. The license plate can flip without it hitting anywhere. It's all good. So all you have to do is when you get your bumper in, is screw this down in there. Real easy. There's screws, 4 screws you can put. I usually only use 2. I usually use the bottom ones. It's just easier to screw down. You can do all 4 if you want. And as you can see, I trimmed all the extra fiberglass off. It's all right here. It's pretty thick. There's the layup of the fiberglass. You can see it's not like puddles of resin. It's somewhat dry in there, and that's what you want. Okay. And there's the opening. So this thing's ready to ship. You can see where the holes are for mounting. I'll leave them uncut or undrilled for you, just in case there's some chance that it's not going to fit exactly where your holes are, because I know it could be off sometimes on these cars. But it's ready to ship. That's out of mold rear bumper.